Guys, it's finally happened. What started off as seemingly a big April Fool's joke has just came out into the theaters here in Japan. And let me tell you, it is one of the most fun cinematic experiences I've ever had. We have the two most definitive Japanese horror film icons in one movie, duking it out. The premise is as ridiculous as it sounds, and let me tell you, it is really, really fun. Basically, we have Sadako from the Ring series and Kayako from the Ju-On Grudge series. Let me tell you, this is a crossover as epic in proportion as Freddy vs. Jason was. In the sense that you know it's not going to really be a great movie, but you know you're going to have a whole lot of fun. And let me tell you, this movie delivers. But before we dive into the review, let's ask, are you Team Sadako or are you Team Kayako? Hello YouTube, my name is Ray from Asian Filmist, and I'm just a guy who loves movies. Alright, let's talk about Sadako vs. Kayako. The movie is directed by Shiraishi Koji. If you check out his filmography, it's filled with almost all horror movies. Some of them good, a lot of them really bad, but if you ever seen Nori the Curse, that was a great movie. So we have a veteran horror film director directing Sadako vs. Kayako, and what could go wrong? After all, it isn't too hard to be that much better than the recent Ring and Ju-On movies that have come out in recent years. But then again, just looking at the trailers and all the kinds of promotions and marketings they've been putting out for this film, we can expect to not be in for a genuine horror movie experience. I mean, if you look at all the promotions that the characters are doing, they're doing opening pitches for professional baseball games, they're in your movie theaters talking about movie theater etiquette, and even selling popcorn, collaborating with Hello Kitty. Even Kayako and her son Toshio had their own Instagram account, showing off their daily lives as mother and son ghost. So you know, Sadako vs. Kayako is not going to be a genuine scary horror film experience, but we can expect to have a lot of fun, and yeah, that's exactly what we had. Now let's talk a little bit about the story. This doesn't fit anywhere in the timeline with any of the Ring or Ju-On movies. Now this takes place in a world where both ghosts exist almost side by side, and none of the crappy events that happened in the sequels happened. But what's unique about this world is that both Sadako and Kayako have been obscured into urban legends. Like everyone has heard of the cursed video or the cursed house, and everyone kind of knows their backstory. They know Sadako is a ghost that comes out if you watch the cursed video, and Kayako is a ghost that comes out whenever you visit the cursed house. And because we have two different ghosts as the main stars, we get introduced to two sets of heroes. In the Sadako side of the story, we're introduced to Yuri, who's played by Yamamoto Mizuki, and Natsumi, who's played by Satsukawa Aimi. And then on the Ju-On side, you get introduced to Suzuka, who is played by Tamashiro Tina. So the story kicks off with Natsumi and Yuri. They're both classmates at the same university, and Natsumi requests Yuri's help in helping her take her parents' wedding anniversary video and converting it into a DVD. And because the video is a VHS, they need to go to an old recycle shop to buy a VCR. And it just so happens that the old dirty VCR that they bought happens to have the cursed video inside. So they watch it, they get cursed, and then thus begins their adventure. And then the other story, you have Suzuka and her family. They move next door to the Saiki house of Ju-On. Now for some reason the Saiki house isn't burnt down, but it's condemned, everything's in shambles, and it's all locked up and nobody goes in there. But everyone knows the rumor that if you go in the house that Kayako will come out and kill you. So the gist of the story is that both sets of main characters get cursed with their respective movies' ghosts. And on their journey to find a way to lift the curse, they both meet this, a psychic or a spirit medium by the name of Keizo. Now Keizo, he's played by Ando Masanobu, and he's accompanied with this little girl named Tamao, played by Kikuchi Mai. Now Keizo, he's like this fearless psychic who's an expert at exorcising ghosts. Now Tamao, she's blind, but she can still sense the presence of spirits nearby. So Keizo and Tamao help come up with this plan to lift these two sets of girls from their respective curses. And their answer to that is to basically double curse each of the girls with both Sadako and Kayako and have them duke it out for the right to kill these girls. So how does it work out? Well, they actually kind of changed a little bit of the way Sadako's curse works in this movie. First of all, let's bring up that Sadako is the main curse of this movie. It actually focuses more on the legend of Sadako versus Kayako. I'd say it's about a 60-40 split between the time spent focusing on Sadako's story versus Kayako's. So remember back in the first Ring movie, you were given 7 days after watching the video before you die from Sadako's curse. They changed it so that way you die actually after 2 days instead of 7 days, probably just to speed up the story. And a new addition to the curse is that if anybody comes and interferes with Sadako's curse, for example, like an exorcist, basically Sadako comes out and eliminates them. And that interfere does not exclude the cursed one themselves. Like if they try to commit suicide before Sadako's curse takes effect, Sadako will come in and just kill them early. Now, you kind of feel like where this is going. So basically, Keizo's plan is to get the girls who are afflicted with Sadako's curse also afflicted with Kayako's curse, so that way Kayako becomes the interferer. And so Sadako has no choice but to destroy Kayako before Kayako can deliver her kill. And you know, with each of the Ring movies, they made different changes to the curse, but I think the changes made to Sadako's curse in this movie actually worked out for the plot and made it quite enjoyable. And as far as any change to Kayako's curse, there is little to none. However, we do get plenty of shots of Toshio, the young boy, coming out and doing his own share of kills too. So it's not just Kayako doing all the heavy lifting. So now let's dive a bit deeper into the things I really enjoyed about Sadako versus Kayako. But before we dive into what I enjoyed about this movie, let's just take a moment to remind ourselves. You don't watch this movie looking for a genuine horror movie experience. You watch this movie as a fan of both Ju-on and The Ring, and as someone just looking for a very fun movie experience. And you should also watch this film as a fan of crossovers of fictional characters. Or pro wrestling, you know, that works too. And with that being said, the thing I enjoyed most about Sadako vs. Kayako is all the Easter eggs they planted from each of the respective films in the story. There was a scene that mirrored the very famous scene in the first Ring movie where Sadako comes out of the TV. Even you have close-ups of Sadako's eye, which was kind of missing from each of the Ring movies past the first one. Sadako also has her magic hair, which was kind of introduced in the Sadako 3D series, but you know, it was alright in this one. And you had scenes where Kayako crawls down the stairs just like in the first movie, and there was even a scene that mirrored that bathroom kill scene in the first Ju-on movie. And what was nice is that both ghosts were brought back to the ways that we remember them most. But what was also great about that is that they didn't try to overstuff this movie with backstories of either ghost. Like, they briefly mentioned their backstories, but they don't try to go into so much detail. But you know, it was kind of a balance, because what made them really good in the original movies is that they were sympathetic. You understood why they were angry enough to go out and start killing people. But in this movie, they're just pure evil. They're just pure hate. If you're unlucky enough to stumble upon their curse, then see ya. And they also changed the footage that was on Sadako's cursed video. It no longer had any references to any suffering she might have had in her life or footage of her mother. They got rid of all that. Instead of just a simple video. Like, it's pretty cool. They actually show the characters watching the video, but they never actually show the footage until later on in the film. So it was a nice build up. Now let's talk about some of the things I didn't really enjoy about Sadako vs. Kayako. Well, first of all, the acting was very lackluster. The girls they hired to play the main characters, they weren't so good. As far as characters were concerned, they were pretty generic, run-of-the-mill, scream and run away from the ghosts kind of girls. Like, these are the type of characters that when they see the ghost walking slowly towards them, all they can do is sit back and scream. That being said, as fun as they were, the scares and, you know, the kills were nothing new. We've seen a lot of them before in many of the movies in the past. And also the scares and the type of atmosphere this movie tries to set. Like, it's not the subtle kind of eerie horror that the original Ring and Grudge movies had, but rather they are jump scares designed to make you jump out of your seat with loud noises. Another thing I didn't really enjoy about this movie is at times it just kind of dragged. Like, you're just waiting for the story to finish up, and a lot of times the girls are just sitting around and saying nothing, just staring into empty space. And all the while you're just waiting for Sadako or Kayako to come out. And a lot of times the story was, you know, admittedly very predictable. So yeah, we can go on and on about the things that we wouldn't enjoy about this movie, but that would take away from the experience that you were meant to have. So now I want to take some time to talk about things that are just genuinely funny and more enjoyable about this movie. First of all, let's talk about Ando Masanobu's character, Keizo, the fearless psychic. Basically, it's him and Tamao that make this movie feel less like a horror movie and more like some kind of supernatural anime thriller. And it's not a bad thing, it kind of changed the mood a little bit, and actually that's what made it a lot of fun. Like, the way this character was written, he was really entertaining. Like, when he would try to exorcise some of the characters, he would go up to them and do like these crazy hand seals. I don't even know if Masanobu really knew what he was doing half the time, but it was very fun to watch. And just the fact that his character's only logical conclusion to lift the curse of both girls was to make them double curse was just simply amazing. Like, you couldn't help but just laugh and cheer at that decision. Like, yes! Another thing that made this movie really enjoyable is the way they would really treat the outdated technology that are VCRs and VHSs. Like, when one of the characters said, alright, let's go check out this video, he took like 2 minutes to bring out his old VCR and hook it up. Like, that little bit of extra detail, I don't know, I thought it was funny. As an old dude, yeah. And the film film was almost self-aware in a way, in that there were times when they would discuss the technicalities of the curse. Like one of the characters that the Sadako cursed girls went to go seek for help was their college professor, who was another pretty entertaining character. Like he gets around to watching the movie, then after it's finished, instead of being scared like the other characters, he goes, "Alright, I watched it, that was so cool." Basically, I think he's all of us as Ring or Ju-on fans. But then the girls bring to him the idea, is alright, so we showed you the video, does that mean I'm lifted from the curse? And then the professor says, well no, technically you didn't show me the video, I took the video from you and then watched it on my own. Without giving too much away, there are a number of scenes where they mess around with the VHS tape, passing it back and forth because they get kind of confused with the technicalities over how the curse is supposed to work. And it's like, really? But I guess if you really want to know how to lift the curse, then you gotta know the rules. And with that, you know, there are a lot more scenes that are meant to be more fun and exciting than actually scary. As a matter of fact, you spend most of the time cheering for the ghosts rather than the people who are trying to survive. It's like you want Sadako and Kayako to come out. And when they do, it's really quite fun. And when they finally get together and start fighting over which curse gets to win, it is epic. Although I do have to say that this film ends kind of appropriately, but at the same time very abruptly. But you know, to answer that question, was this collaboration worth this wait? I would say hell yeah it was. This is definitely my favorite Ring and Ju-on movie since the first Ring and since the second Ju-on. Though not as scary as a horror film should be, it was entertaining as one would expect and want. Now I will admit that I went to the theater with very low expectations, and I will say that the movie had met those expectations and even raised the bar a little bit. But honestly, yeah, I was genuinely entertained. But what are your thoughts on this Sadako versus Kayako crossover? For those that have watched it, did it live up to the hype? Was it worthy of carrying the characters Sadako and Kayako, or was it as bad as a B movie could get? For those that haven't watched this movie, what kind of things are you expecting or wanting from Sadako versus Kayako? And once again, which team are you on? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below. And don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to Asian Filmist for more reviews and discussions of Asian films. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. And also make sure you sign up for our email newsletter so that you can receive a free copy of our ebook, The 108 Asian Films for New Fans to Watch. And once again, my name is Ray. I would love to hear from you on Twitter. And that's about it, guys. Alright everyone, I'm about to watch another movie. Be back soon. Promise.